Peace and love to the family. It's DoMo, the jack of all trades. And today, we're going to ask the question that everybody has been asking. Everybody asking me this all the time. Most clients ask me this all the time when they're on their consults with me. What is protein, right? So today I'm going to break down the molecular structure of protein and how it's made up. So protein, as you can see, this is the chain that makes up protein. These are the molecules that make up protein. Oxygen, carbon, nitrogen, amino acid chains, side chains, and hydrogen, right? So basically, the chain of protein is carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen, right? So when we break that down, they tell you it's an amino acid most of the time. Protein is an amino acid, right? Which is the quote-unquote building block of life, right? So the elements in amino acids are carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen, right? This is the science behind what protein is. This is the molecular structure of how proteins come together. And well, atoms and molecules come together to form proteins, right? So NH, right, is an amide, NH2 is an amine, and NH3 is ammonia. I want you to remember that because I have the nitrogen highlighted for a reason, because when you think about protein, they always plug it in to an amino acid. They're saying it's a building block of life. So when you see amino acid, that's where they get the amine, amide, ammonia, amino, right? So, but what is nitrogen? Remember, in the last slide, I had nitrogen highlighted. What is nitrogen? So, nitrogen is a chemical element. That's a gas substance. Gas. So, you know, you have solid, liquid, gas. So, nitrogen is a gas form, just like air is a gas form, right? An odorless gas form, and it's unreactive, meaning it's dead. So in science, it's actually defined as a dead gas, right? And it's found in amino acids that make up protein. So it's the nitrogen that exists inside of protein, the carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, and the nitrogen. So you have dead gas, which is existing inside of the protein, right? Your body gets rid of protein and ammonia, nitrogen inside of the urea cycle. So every time that you go to the bathroom, you urinate, you're actually going through the process that the natural process that your body goes through to actually excrete protein out of you. So as you can see here, you can see how the urea cycle works. You have nitrogen over here, these are the amino acids, and you have carbon over here. Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. CHO, right? And you have the nitrogen over here. But the nitrogen has to be combined with carbon, right, to make it less toxic. This is how the urea cycle works. The nitrogen is too toxic, it's a dead gas, to come out to be excreted this way through the body. So it has to be formed with the carbon, right, to make it less toxic, and this is how you get NH4, which is now erythrocytes. So you have a urea cycle, and this is how you basically produce urea. It's basically, this is the cycle that your body is going through to get protein outside of the body. This is where nitrogen is. This is what nitrogen is. So when we look at this, we was always told that we need amino acids, right? So let's ask the question, carboxylic acid. What is a carboxylic acid, right? You have carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. This is the molecular makeup of how a carboxylic acid looks. No nitrogen, no dead gas, right? So this is the chain of life, CHO. This is also a carbohydrate, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. This also fuels the body. This is what is inside of fruits. This is what nourishes fruits. But then you add the dead gas, which is nitrogen. This is how you get protein. Do we need animal protein? Because when they ask you, when we are spoken about protein, when we're told about protein, most of the time people are trying to get it from meat. And so let's look at it. Animal protein, right? Animal protein raises cholesterol. It's a cancer promoter. It promotes bone loss, promotes kidney diseases, accelerates aging. Your cells are rapidly aging, right? And it's packed with saturated fat. Watch my last video where I speak about saturated fat. When you look at plant protein, it lowers your cholesterol. It's a cancer protector and promotes bone strength and packed with fiber. So when you look at these proteins, and first of all, where are the animals getting their protein? Because when you look at the animal is the secondary source. The primary source would be what the animals are eating to get the protein in the first place. Most of the animals are eating plants. So why go to a secondary source? If you're doing research and you know in school that you always want to go to the primary, period. So the primary source to get the protein is inside of plants. And guess what's inside of the plants? Minerals, nutrients, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. These things exist inside of the plants that nature produced it for its offspring, humans, for us to be consuming. So when you talk about, the whole thing about protein, let's ask the question, do we need it? Do we need protein? Well, I would say this, if I was to be asked it, when you think about protein, just look at the science of it. We need carbon, we need hydrogen, and we need oxygen to sustain our lives. Nitrogen is something that our bodies is dealing with right now. Because you can look here, the history of nitrogen. Daniel Rutherford in Scotland in 1772, he discovered nitrogen. So let's say before 1772, before that he discovered this thing, was we calling our food protein because nitrogen wasn't even discovered? So just ask yourself that question. Because what I'm saying here is that carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, these things we was already using for our fuel source and food and for nutrition and health and wellness. Once nitrogen came here, and then this whole thing, because you got to see that most of the time people are promoting foods and telling you that, oh, you need protein. So and you need protein powder, protein shakes, things of that nature. Now that you know the science and the chemical makeup of it, ask yourself, do you need protein? Don't live to eat. Eat to live. Peace and love.